Hello. Welcome to Thought Tapestry. My name is Stephanie, and I am bringing you our history today. So, there's been a lot of talk about protesting and who should show up for whom socially as the American political system flails and falls. So in honor of Black History Month, we want to kick off our podcast with a story about protests led by those from the Black diaspora. We dedicate this show to you. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Today we're talking about the Montgomery bus boycott, which occurred in Montgomery, Alabama, and the way that Black women are often treated interchangeably. Oh, yes, we're going there. So when we think about the Montgomery bus boycott, and this is like a total aside, but this is kind of how this podcast is going to go. And Keeks, obviously, you can chime in at any point because we want to keep this fun and flirty. But when I was doing this research, the first thing that I thought about wasn't even necessarily like the historical implications of the bus boycott. It's kind of about the Montgomery brawl that happened. And then I started thinking how that city continues to be kind of overrun with some crazy racial tensions, like even today in 2025. So I don't know what occurred there. Maybe we can do some research and find out why it continues to be such a hotbed of conflict, Black and white. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, I do.
Anyway, okay. So this highlights the fact that America is just still much farther from society than many will admit, but I digress, of course. So a little history about the history. Segregation, which was primarily being upheld in southern states, was made official policy because those in leadership and law enforced them through Jim Crow laws. And those were, because I don't even know that they're officially off the books, but that's a discussion for another day. Jim Crow was basically a derogatory term for Black people. And then they just kind of started, so they didn't want to say like Black people laws, so they started calling them Jim Crow law. And basically what these laws stated was that everything was segregated, from schools to residential areas to public parks, theaters, pools, cemeteries, asylums, jails, and residential homes. Literally everything. There were separate waiting rooms for white people and Black people, and in professional offices. So they literally came in different doors. We've seen it. We've seen the drinking fountains. We've seen all of that. And in 1915, Oklahoma became the first state to even segregate public phone booths. So even though integration had been kind of the law of the land for quite some time, Southerners were very, very resistant to it. So you can imagine how hard this made life for those that were kind of on the opposing side. Like the neighborhoods they were being forced into weren't obviously being upkept. They weren't getting attention. They weren't getting funding. So they had to live very difficult lives. And that's just a little history about what the time period looked like as our heroine enters the story. Her name is Claudette Colvin. And a little bit about her. She grew up in a rural town of Pine Level, Alabama, and this was about 30 miles outside of Montgomery. And she lived on a farm that was run by her great aunt and uncle. But she does say in some of the research that I found that even being surrounded by farm animals in this idyllic kind of countryside living, she did feel the oppression of racial segregation. She says you didn't understand it. You could see the differences. She says she only interacted with white people when she left the farm and went to the general store to pick up supplies. And that's actually where she learned about racism. And I just want to point out that when I'm saying she said, I'm referencing materials that we'll include in the podcast show notes from an interview that was done with her in like recent history. So we like to kind of paint the past as being very far away, but this woman was alive in my lifetime, so much so that I'm reading words that she spoke like 10 years ago. Okay? So history is always much closer than we want to think. Okay? So anyway, She said when she was about 6, she was waiting in line at like one of these little general stores when a group of white children began pointing and laughing at her. And one of the little white boys approached her and he was like, "Let me see your hands." And she raised up her hands. And when he approached her, he touched her hands. She said almost immediately her mother gave her a backhanded slap across the mouth. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
She said she recalls how much it hurts. She was crying, but she did realize that they weren't supposed to touch each other, that the crime, air quote, crime that had been committed was that she had touched a white person. And not because it was bad to the white person, because it was bad to her. And, this actually makes me think about kind of just some of the violence that we do see perpetrated in the Black community. I'm wondering if it's like an old holdover, because the lessons the elders were trying to instill in the youth at that time were literally life or death, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder if that's why sometimes it's so easy for some of us to kind of resort to that, because it's the quickest way to learn a lesson.
Mm-hmm. You got it. Yeah, it's like when mama gets you, I'm going to get you before somebody else gets you, right?
Yep, exactly that. Okay, so at age 8, she moved to Montgomery to a lower income Black neighborhood in King Hill, and she entered adolescence there and, just kind of to start to live a relatively normal life as much as you could in a segregated South. Unfortunately, her sister Delphine got sick and actually died from polio. I couldn't find a lot about the hows and the whys of this, but my assumption, and I'm going to just make it because this is a history and hot takes podcast, is that she probably wasn't able to get the type of medical care that was afforded people that were not Black, and then just succumbed to polio. She also saw firsthand how aligned white supremacy and violence were, because her neighbor, this kid named Jeremiah Reeves, who was also going to the same school she was going to, was 16 years old when a all-white jury sentenced him to death for the rape of a white woman. The story goes that Jeremiah Reeves had retracted his confession. Like, they pulled him in, he made a confession, he retracted his confession because it was made under duress, and this prompted the NAACP to kind of step in, but unfortunately it didn't do much except kind of raise awareness to what was happening. Mr. Reeves did die, but Colvette says that this was the first time she saw the NAACP in action, and kind of it just started to plant some seeds for her. She said at school she was encouraged to critically engage with the plight of Black citizens. She learned about the Mau Mau uprising in Kenya. She was taught literature from Edgar Allan Poe, who was her favorite author and one of mine, and then to Black laureates such as like Paul Laurence Dunbar. In the days before she decided that she was going to give up her seat, her teacher asked her students to write an essay during that time. It was called Negro History Week, and I think this was before Black History Month was officially adopted. They gave us a week, yay. Anyway, the subject of the essay titled, "How Do You Feel as an American?" In an interview with reporter Oliver Laughlin, she notes that she was instantly struck by the title of the assignment because she didn't think that they were considered Americans. And he notes in his interview that you could still hear anger in her words. She said, "We were considered Negroes and we were treated by the ruling class as the second-class citizens." She did end up writing about the injustice of Jeremiah Reeves, and she recalls thinking about him on the day that she decided not to move. So that's some of her background. And now we're going to talk about the day that she literally made history. It was the spring of 1955, and it was March 2nd. She was on her way home from school, and she was 15 at the time. She was sitting on a bus in a window seat, and she was asked to move for a white passenger that was standing nearby, and she simply just said no. The police were called. Of course they were. They always are. They are still being weaponized, and they forcibly removed her from the bus. She told them it was her constitutional right to sit where she wanted, but they didn't care. They ignored her, handcuffed her, and eventually took her to jail on 3 charges, including assault on a police officer, disturbing the police, and violating segregation laws. She pled not guilty, but she was ultimately convicted, although 2 of the charges were later dropped on appeal. All of this, this poor 15-year-old girl endured, and yet her unplanned act of bravery was almost written out of civil rights history. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I think that there are many reasons this may have been the case, but as I dug into it, I really feel like a lot of it was like respectability politics. Part of that, I think, is because she was a teenager, and they associated her actions to deviancy instead of rebellion. Her arrest also made a stir in the local media, but it was like mostly ignored by local civil rights leaders and campaigners, including the little-known Montgomery pastor Martin Luther King, who literally ostracized her and basically shunned her. Just it didn't happen. She didn't happen.
Wow.
None of that. Pretended it didn't happen. It actually wasn't until 9 months after her arrest that what we know of as the Montgomery bus boycott began. And this was spurred by the arrest of Rosa Parks in an almost identical incident. The only conceivable difference was that Rosa was an adult. She was about 40 at the time. She was also married, and she was also a lighter-skinned woman. Mm-hmm. So that's why a lot of people now, when we examine it, think that she was kind of propped up to be the icon of the civil rights era and not Claudette. And that concludes the history portion of the podcast. We now want to get into some hot takes, because I think that Claudette was the OG other Black girl.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. The OBG.
Yes.
The OG BG, okay?
OG BG. Because could you imagine, Keith, at 15 years old, you have enough gumption to stand up, not to just like racist that are just surrounding you on a bus, but like basically a whole system, and say, I'm not going to continue to let you walk all over me and infringe upon my rights in this country that you say I'm free in. Mm. And then everyone just ignore you.
Yeah, straight up ignore you and then arrest you. But big ups to the teacher at that time that had the wherewithal to kind of get the young minds up moving, because without that teacher, who knows what would have happened. I think that kind of gave her some time to reflect and really say, like, yeah, what the hell is it to be an American? Do I really feel American? No, because I can't even sit where I want to sit on a bus. Mm-hmm. That I'm obviously paying money for to get on every day to run around town and do the things I need to do.
Yeah, just live life. Like, it's not like even asking for special privileges. It's just like, it's here, I'm paying, just take me. Like you're taking everybody else where I need to go. Why, are there assigned seats? I'll pay more. You know
it's a girl, yes! It's a seat. It's a freaking seat on a long bus. Everybody knows a bus. There's really no good seats on the bus. I don't care if you're in the front or the middle and the back. You're in a bus. We're all in this together. So, Stephanie, my question is to you about Claudette. Was she, like, did she go on to, at that time, were there any articles about her? Because I feel like we just started finding out about her
No, that's why. That's she's the OGBG, because they literally suppressed her. And then when Rosa did the same thing that she did, she was just more, and this is going to suck, but I'm going to use air quotes, she was just kind of a more appropriate icon. Mm-hmm. So literally, no, they talked about her as like this criminal, you know what I mean? Like, that's how they kind of painted what she did in like the local news. And then it kind of went away. And then 9 months later, Rosa did the same thing. And because she was like a woman, because you know how it was back in the day, like they definitely weren't respecting teenagers, and they certainly weren't respecting Black teenagers. So then this woman does this thing, and it's what gained attention. It just Rosa did it, and then it just quickly shifted Claudette into the other Black girl role. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do know what you mean. But imagine if we would have had let her be the face. Yeah. Just the young people. Just think about what kind of revolution that would have been. Because the young boots on the ground versus the old boots on the ground that are trying to still kind of step and fetch and still step in line, like, and be in line like they were. Imagine if they would have would have just taken off, and she would have been the face of the civil rights movement and the Montgomery bus boycott. That would have been dope.
I actually did think about that because I am 100% convinced that a lot of the reason that they didn't want her to be the face of it is because of respectability politics, and I grew up with Southern grandparents, and there is just this vibe of like, present yourself this way, walk this way, you know what I mean? Like, you have to earn the respect before you can get the respect. And that has always, I think, I've always been a little radical. I've always thought outside of the box. I have always felt that if a whole bunch of people think one thing's right, I sure the hell better be questioning it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I think you're right. I feel like that's just kind of historically been the case across America, right? It's always the youth that are saying, let's change it, and the adults in charge are saying, oh, you're young, you don't know what you're talking about, or oh, you're young, your experience is irrelevant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So just continue to cycle out the same bullshit, century after century,
Yes. And in the interview, Stephanie, did she talk about how, she was able to even, overcome that, and to think about, like, she was a part of, she was a part of history, although she wasn't spoken of. Did she have any catharsis or, going on through her?
She didn't because she also got pregnant pretty young, and that kind of moved her into this cycle of poverty. So it wasn't until she was probably Rosa's age, so literally 30 years later, that people even started to kind of consider her. You know what I mean? It was like the early 90s or something before people started to kind of really look at things historically. So she had a pretty not great life, right? Like, her life wasn't great. I think she would kind of describe it as very difficult. I think she has overcome quite a bit, but no, it wasn't an easy life. And then it was very difficult, I think, to watch someone be hailed as like a hero for something you did, where they accused you of being like a deviant, right? So you're being looked at as like this troublemaker, and someone else is doing the exact same thing, and suddenly they're the face of the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
So her life was pretty rough, and I think that's why it's important to talk about, like, just how society kind of treats Black women. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of talk about her on this podcast, is because we were talking about something a couple of weeks ago, and it was about how your coworker experienced something kind of similar. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah. So while working in corporate America, one of my coworkers shared with me that she was working for some biotech company, and they would tell her, like, she was the only Black girl. And mind you, my friend is biracial, so not that means anything, but I'm like, oh my gosh, they just see you as Black. That's what my point is. But anyway, they were like, oh, we're gonna get another girl, and they call my friend, for the sake of the podcast, I'm gonna name her Brianna. So she's like, we're getting another Brianna. And she was thinking in her mind, oh, it's going to be another girl named Brianna. But in reality, it was just another Black girl. Just another regular degler sister, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And then they were just so proud to say, oh, we're going to have another Brianna. And she was just thinking, oh yeah, we're going to have two people with the name Brianna. But it wasn't the case. So that sucks. That sucks.
It really And you know what's wild about that? Because I'm certain that they didn't look anything like each other. It was just the fact that they were Black women.
Black
You know what I
women.
mean?
Black
They
women.
really do find us interchangeable. But what's crazy about that, when we were talking about that, I was like, just thinking about, no, I think I actually said to you, I'm like, I've never had that happen, but I can see that it could. And then right after that, I got smacked with the reality that no, in fact, it had happened to me. Because when I was working at a tech company, I had a clash with a coworker and left. And the person that they replaced me with, out of all of the people that they could have chosen to replace me with, was a Black woman from a different department.
Like, we just need one. Like, we just need any one will do. Girl, that's how they be doing it, girl. It is so.
They Claudette Colvin to me, girl.
That sucks. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, a lot of times when you know, I think about, I haven't had a situation like that, but I had gotten, you know, with my common last name that I have gotten asked if that was my sister or is that my cousin, and a lot of times, and I'm like, no, we're no relation. We have a common last name, yes, but we're not related. So yeah, that's.
Is there definitely aren't asking other people with that surname the same thing?
Right.
So, like, you, the non-Black you, they're not going to be like, hey, non-Black you, are you related to you?
Okay. Because there is a guy that I work with the same last name as me, and you know he's a white gentleman, and they never asked me, "Oh, you related to this guy?" No. So it's kind of strange that people do that and they find those commonalities. Oh, well, and then they feel comfortable that they can just say such things. I feel like people being comfortable with those attitudes, that's kind of a downfall for us all too. We shouldn't be thinking that.
I think so too.
We shouldn't think like that.
But part of me wonders if it's because because right as you were saying that, I'm like a lot like, oh, I mean, this is some hot takes, so I'm just gonna not hold back here. I mean, a lot of white people don't interact with Black people regularly. Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
And I feel like when they see one, like in the wild, they have to quickly kind of like determine why or whom or what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it, you know, I feel like sometimes they're unsettled unless they can kind of put you in a box.
Yeah, like the association, like they have to have a reason, like it's still a master in a slave situation where, oh, I'm just talking to her because she's cleaning. I'm asking her what's for dinner. I don't fucking know. But you know, I'm only talking to Kizzy because she's about to shine my shoes, you know.
Yeah.
That is what it is, girl.
Or because she knows the person or is related to the
person. She can give me the hookup. Oh, God.
Oh, we live in a world, girl. We live in a world.
We do live in a world. So, yeah,
they definitely like to, you know, just like, you know, we are very interchangeable to them, which I think is crazy. Because I find our features to be just so, like, as much as I have been told I look like certain people, there's not really another person that I've looked like and said, oh, I can see myself in her. And that could just be me. Because I tell you that there are two people that you remind me of very much. The last person that I sent to you, I feel like can be your doppelganger.
Well, the lady in the show, in that one show?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Did you think yes or no?
I think you told me that I also remind you of Issa Rae.
Yes.
So I feel like I can see that one. I can see that one. The other lady, maybe I need to see some of her, like, maybe I do need to watch the show to see what her mannerisms and her qualities are to say, okay, I see what you're saying. But Issa Rae, like, I can totally see, like, even the look and the natural hair and the vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that would help. But you know what also sucks too is when someone tells you that you remind them of someone, and then the person that they say is someone that you don't find attractive. So if that's
oh my God, girl! Like back in the day, girl. A lot of people used to. Well, not a lot of people. What one motherfucker in particular? He used to call me Whoopi because of my braids. And it wasn't because they were dreadlocks. It wasn't because they weren't unkept or whatever the case is. It was just based on the fact that I had braids. That was the name that they came up with for me. So I totally get it. Seventh grade, never forget it.
Whoopi's not an ugly woman, but again, I think it goes back to the point that they don't know a lot of black people, so the one that they see is the one that sticks in their head for everyone, which is why they think that we all look alike.
Girl, and the gag is, it was the mixed black boy that gave me the moniker.
We're definitely going to talk about that in a different podcast. You know what I mean? Yes. We got a lot to say, man. We got a lot to say. Oof. They actually used to tell me that for the same reason, but I wasn't Whoopi. They told me that I look like Brandy. And I swear to you, Keisha, it is our generation, because Whoopi was of your generation and Brandy was of mine, and she was just all over the place. And again, the only black person.
The front woman, okay? The fucking front woman. Yeah, girl. There it is. Yeah, I think you're right. Because Whoopi was in Ghost, and like she was in Jumpin' Jack Flash, and she was so yeah, you're right.
But I took it. I mean, because I know where they're coming from. I'm like, oh, you're trying to, I don't know, relate or whatever. So I guess I'll give it to you.
Yeah. But yeah, with this lady, I do see where you are, like with her. I could see that. Like you have always been like very outspoken. And not to just keep the, to use the words, but you have always been woke. You have always been woke, and you have
I really have. Maybe it's because we were both reading Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, there you go. There's the string. There's the red string.
Some kind of hidden message.
There you go.
The funny thing about it is I don't even consider it being woke, Kiki. I think it's just like aware and interested.
Okay.
Like, I'm aware of what's going on and I'm interested in what's going on, so I see what's going on. Like, you know what I mean? But it's also strange to me because I think about it in like a much bigger place. Like, I feel like it's also about kind of like my designation as a human on this planet. And we've talked about this a little bit, and we might as well go into it now because this is Thought Tapestry, so we're going to weave together a bunch of stuff. But I feel like part of it is that I don't know. This is what I think. I feel like I'm here because I am supposed to buck convention a little bit, but it's really difficult to buck convention in a world that's so dead set on doing things traditionally. You know what I mean? And so sometimes I do have a hard time even when you said you've always been pretty woke, I couldn't even just admit that. It's tough to be interested and curious and aware in a world that would just much rather not be.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
There's just a lot of things that we talk about and that like we say is really cool, but like the steps to get there, no one wants to take. I mean, flying cars, for example, those are pretty apolitical, but the things that we would need in order for us to get cars in the sky are things like infrastructure.
Yeah.
We're probably going to find like a sustainable energy source, like all these things. And we don't think about like, we're not forward thinking. And when I say we, I'm mostly just talking about Americans because a lot of Americans joined the Red Note app when Donald started playing with our social media. And I'm over there talking to people who literally are living in 2050. They really are. in the way that they think about what people should have, like about the poor. Whenever they talk about the poor, it's always very like empathetically. You know what I mean? I've never seen one comment where they're like they should pull themselves up by their bootstraps, right?
No, they're not. They're very loving. They're very accepting, and they are very with it and forward thinking. Like you said, when you asked me, have I ever seen? What was it? Was it Shanghai? You were like, have you ever seen Shanghai? Girl, I don't even know. I don't even know if I ever looked up Shanghai, okay? To be honest. But girl, when I saw it, girl, I was like, oh, that is light years, okay? Light years ahead.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think that's kind of like my positioning is I've always been a globalist. Like I think it's probably a little naive now, but for many, many years, I always believed that world peace was achievable. I think that war is nonsensical. Like, there truly is enough on this planet for all of us to be sharing and living and thriving. I just think that a lot of the ways we go about doing that are just so unnecessary. But part of it, when I say that I'm a globalist, the problem is that I'm an American, and we have been fed this American exceptionalism, right?
Yeah.
When the facts are that there's nothing exceptional about us. We just get things through either brutal force, manipulation, or financially. Like, we buy it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
There you go. Those are the three.
We have been competitive in years, you know? So I used to feel very smart. Now I feel so dumb. I feel like there's so much to know anymore. And I feel like that's by design. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when you say that you've never looked up Shanghai, it's because of all the crap they taught us about China. We used to actually literally think of them as like enemies. And if you think about that, that's such an American thing.
Girl, and also too, girl, they used to tell you can dig your way all the way down to China. You can dig your way down to China. Like, what? Girl, that's what I remember. That's what I remember. And I remember them always talking about they're communists and they do this and this and that. And girl, the older I get, you know, you start learning about what does it mean? What does communism mean? And girl, I mean, some stuff you can take what you will and leave what you don't. But some shit is not really all that bad when you think about social, like the social programs they can provide for you. How you don't have to scrimp and struggle and almost damn near go broke to go to the hospital to have a baby. Well, you know, but girl, there's a lot that, you know, can come from it. And I think that was by design, right? Everything is done, I think, with design. They can design some hate shit. They can design some divisive tactics. But getting us that flying car is just a bridge. It's just a bridge too far. And it's a bridge that we're just going to maybe even have to try to build that bridge in the sky. They'll still be trying to bridges. They'll still be trying to fucking make a bridge in the sky, even though we can freaking fly the car, girl, because they need to somebody needs to get that contract. Somebody needs to get that government contract on that bridge.
That's what I was just about to say, because there'll be somebody who has a contract for fucking steel or something.
Yeah. That's
build that, whatever it is. I know, it sucks. It really does suck. I feel like America just used to be such a progressive country, but I feel like part of the reason that we can't be progressive is because we won't like address some of our deep-rooted issues, some of which are probably stemming right out of fucking Montgomery, Alabama.
There you go.
Going on in that state, in that city. But there just seems to be, it was just really crazy to me when I was doing that story and I was reading all about Montgomery. And then I was just thinking about that chair brawl and I was like, wow, it's literally still happening today, just in different ways. You know what I mean?
Girl, the chair brawl. the chair brawl for it all. For all time, damn it.
Have you gone back and looked at any of those photos?
Girl, I actually did, because I was like, because girl, you know how stuff like lately, I mean, in my adult life, things are going quite fast. So when you think about things, you kind of think like, damn, did that happen yesterday or did that happen years ago? And then you go back to it and you're like, damn, that was back then. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So
are speeding up crazily. And if you're still with us and you're still listening to us, we are very spiritual girly. So you're definitely going to hear about New Earth. So
All about
lock in, strap in, because I kind of think that's why the timelines feel like everything spun up. I mean, because realistically, 2020 was half a decade ago.
Yeah, it was.
When you conceptualize that there are aspects of all of the years in between then and now that to me feel like they were just yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, remember so vividly, it feels like it just happened.
Yeah. That was almost, now it's going to be 5 years ago, but really, it literally was like it was yesterday that we were all kind of like blaming again.
Oh shit, we were. Oh my God.
Remember that? There's this mysterious disease and we don't know what it is and we don't know how it, but we probably got it from China. And then look at how the Chinese people are walking around with face masks. They were trying to prevent some shit from happening. So girl, it just did happen. And then we learned like, okay, then this started slowly shutting things down. Then it was a mandatory shutdown. So it did. And then you look back at it and you're like, dang, we went through all of that, all of the different changes, the finger pointing, and then there were the non-vaxxers, and it was back to this whole regime that's all up in there right now. So
we learned nothing.
We didn't.
We learned nothing from that. Like, that's what's so crazy. Like, we should have gone through that and come out of it like strong.
Yes.
United. Mm-hmm. Better, and holy shit, I actually really think that it was the beginning of the end of what we know as our current like socialist democracy. I will say that. I've been on TikTok saying it's time to divide this country in two. Like, it's over, people. Like, I hope you all realize that. But that was the turning point, right? It was like you could either go this way or you could go that way, and Americans chose to go that way. And it's a horde.
They did.
Everyone's unhappy. We're all miserable. Yeah. We're all gonna lot poorer now. Like, the economy's tanking, stocks are tanking. We're talking about another recession. It's like this. Who's not living like this?
Let me guess.
The Chinese.
Girl, I halfway think that we're talking about boycotts and such, right?
Yes.
I think that we, in some aspects, we did take a little throttle back, because I think we were all about it when we were occupying and we were boycotting and we were kind of like, okay, this is what the hell it's supposed to be. Then COVID happened. They thought it was free, girl, and they were like, well, let's get some more of these free monies.
I agree.
So let's...
Listen, I feel like...
Daddy Warbucks, girl.
I feel like as a history podcast, and that's what we're going to call this, I feel like it's my duty, and also as a former journalist, it's my duty to just clarify for those listening, tell your peeps that Donald Trump did not want to give you those checks. In fact, the reason why the stimulus was originally delayed is because he said no. And the only reason that the checks were issued is because he wanted his name to go on them. And that is how they got that money. And what's crazier to me, Kiki, is that if we lived in a socialist society, they would always get money.
Girl, talk about it. Talk about it.
So, a little circle.
Yes.
And so now, not only are we never going to see it, but the 1% is going to make sure that any excess that could potentially go into our pockets goes into theirs.
Yeah.
That's why, like, it's time for us to start thinking about doing things radically different. Like, I mean, we could even do like territories. You know what I mean?
Girl,
like,
yes. Mm-hmm.
Are right? There's like the West, the South, the East. Like, we should just divide.
Yeah.
And let it be that. I mean, Keeks, California, where we are both located, is there's like what are those things, a petition out to have it kind of considered an independent state.
Girl, I want in. I want them to have competitions. I want...
If you had asked me this a year ago, I would have said, you're crazy. But this year, same. Sign me up. Tell me how many names we need. I will canvas for you.
Yes. All in the front of Target. Like, hey, can I get your signature? Yeah. Girl, I will give the girls what they need. Let me tell you about this. Listen, girl, if you don't even think we should be divided, just think about those football games, girl. I know you love football. I know you love basketball. Girl, let's get it. The East versus the West, girl. There is no competition, baby.
And then we establish like some pride, like whose country's
yes.
Like, let's ramp it up.
Let's ramp it up. Let's really take mediocrity out of it, because then at that point you can't be mediocre. Everybody's gonna have to stand on their own 2 feet. They're gonna have to get it like they live. There's no mediocrity in that.
I agree. You don't want DEI. You know what? Neither do I.
Okay.
Let's go toe to toe.
Let's go toe to toe. Let's see.
You know what I mean?
May the best woman win in the Hunger Games, baby.
Fucking Hunger Games. You know I've been practicing on my bow and arrow.
Get it. Get it.
You know,
get it.
not fun time, people.
Don't play. No play no games.
We've chatted about quite a bit. Okay. So here's another hot take about Black women. And this is just, I mean, we're talking about protest. I feel like I'm seeing, and it's so interesting, okay, because obviously the only social media platform that I'm on is TikTok, but that's what I'm going to reference the most. I'm also on Blue Sky and Tumblr, but they're all different vibes. Anyway, you know how, like, they're talking about, like, the 92%, etc., and it's like, ladies, leave your men at home. We're going to chill. We're going to kick that.
Yeah.
Rest and have some fun and just
and learn some shit and have some communities. Yeah.
Yes. Women talk. I mean, come on. We really started leaning into that. But what I've also seen because of that is this increase. A lot of people are like, how come Black people aren't saying anything? How come Black people aren't doing anything? And I actually have come to realize that the expectation is that we are always going to be the ones to, because we always have been the ones to. Do you know what I mean?
Going back to the boycott, like,
yes.
And you know what?
Because, like, what that boycott did was it started to kind of shed a light on how integration was actually being treated, you know what I mean, within the company. And so that's what led to the Equal Opportunity, the EEOC Act, right? That then granted, obviously, Black people, women, all others kind of rights to work in spaces that we had been, you know, excluded from. And I think we've always been at the front of history saying, like, this is like with our demands, etc. But there's very rarely anyone that's coming behind us and saying, yes, they deserve that, and helping fight the fight. There's a lot of people that have benefited from our fighting. Yeah. And I think that people on the internet are like wondering where we're at and why we're not doing anything, because I don't think that they even necessarily know how to, right?
Yes.
Fight for everything that we've gotten in the country. And it's crazy to me that some racists would look me in the mouth and tell me that I haven't worked hard enough, and that's why our people are still in the position that we're in. Because, motherfucker, everything we have, we fought for and earned. Everything. We have built over land that's been burned. We buried bodies, you know, of children. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we have overcome and we have overcome and we have overcome. And we are still in 2025 where y'all are saying, you know, we don't find you valuable enough to keep policies within our organizations that support you. Roll that shit back. And there's the general consensus is still that we should be fighting.
Yeah, girl, and give it up to my boy Michael Clark Duncan in the Green Mile that says, "I'm tired, boss." Okay,
yeah,
that's it.
Yes,
I mean, we have been doing, girl, even back to the equal employment movement. When back in the day when they had those, I don't know where the grouse brown root started, but it started with women, and it started with Black women. Because
Yep.
with our compadres, the white women, and they were, maybe the boss was taking their liberties, having them stitch up little outfits, maybe making them little lunch meals and doing all that. Or keeping them and having them work beyond their hours. But I think black women had the brunt of all of that because we didn't want to say nothing. We didn't want to be the ones to kind of have to say we didn't want to lose our job. We just barely got this good job. We're not trying to do nothing to rock the boat. But when the white women were having the same, they had the same ick. They were like, oh, we it happens to us too. Let's band together. And it made it stronger, and I don't think without the black women, that movement would have went as far as it did. And, just to say that we were always pulling somebody along with us. We're always saying like, come on, let me show you, like our girl Harriet was trying to get all the people to free them. Let me show you guys how to get free. Like, okay, follow this North Star, do these things, and you're going to be free. That's what we're always doing. And we're tired. Who is going to save us? The black men, the white sisters, and the black sisters that are lost in the sauce. So we always have to pull everybody along with us. Come on, y'all. We can get free. We got to think like this. We got to think outside of the box.
Yep.
Always. So we tired. We're sitting this one out. We're going to let y'all have it. Y'all wanted it. You guys wanted it. Y'all, girl, they wanted it, girl, and in record numbers.
That's what's crazy. You know what's weird is that I also feel like, especially when it comes to black women, like they hate to have us there, but they always want us there.
Girl,
and I can give you I'm reading... hold on, I'm trying to find it right now, and maybe I'll link this in the show notes as well. But I was looking at this article, and it was talking about how this guy, I'm going to try to find it on my phone. Like, he basically was like, if Kamala were, it's like this Trump-backed, I don't even know if he's a fucking government official, but he's basically like someone that Trump backs, and he was saying if Kamala Harris runs for governor, he'll also run. And I'm just like, why does she have to run for you to run? Do you know what I mean? It's this weird, like, gross obsession with us that also sometimes starts to rear its head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, listen, you picked, your guy won. Like, why are you still talking about her? Why does it matter? I don't know. Something in reading that, it just really, like, I was like, I don't understand that. Like, so do you want to be governor or don't you? Or do you just want to be governor? You just want to run against her in the race so you could...
Yeah, so you think you can get your foothold all up in there. No, you're still mediocre, my sir. Like, there's no competition with this woman. Clearly, she is the HBIC because, girl, even she got farther than Hillary.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, like, in a different timeline, Keisha, you know what we're doing? We are still celebrating Madam President. Mm-hmm. I'm also celebrating that my freaking student loans have finally been forgiven because they were never going anywhere. They actually came through and we have $20,000 towards our freaking first home. You know what? Like, we're definitely not hearing from Elon. He has touched tail and run back to South Africa. Like, there is a timeline.
There you go, girl. Let's get it. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Let's get it.
A country worth admiring.
Yes.
Like, we're as a country where people of all backgrounds, races, creeds really do get a valid chance without any fucking bullshit chatter around it to thrive.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think I'm going to have to be a little delusional and kind of live in that world because the one that they are trying to keep us in is just so masculine and like a hot pile. It's such a hot pile. Like,
girl, a hot steaming pile.
Steaming pile.
Girl.
Girl posted on TikTok. She was like talking about the new press secretary and how every time she's kind of meeting with the press, she seems really like angry, you know? And she was asking like, why are you guys so angry? And apparently a bunch of MAGA, like, were so angry at her calling them angry that they reported her post and they took it down. But that's also my question. Like, if him being in office doesn't make you less angry, what would?
Ooh.
You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
question.
What's causing it? Because it's like you guys are keep saying we won, deal with it, and it's like no, we don't have to deal with it, but you don't have to deal with us not dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. Go on about your business. Yeah, enjoy it and sipping your coffee or tea or whatever you prefer. But y'all worried about us. Girl, you know what? I halfway think they were thinking that we're going to be fucking the shrinking violets. Like we were going to be like, oh, we lost and we're going to concede and we're just going to bow down and it was going to be...
I've been seeing that comment a lot because it's like, aren't you guys supposed to be the party of tolerance and love? Not anymore, motherfuckers.
Not anymore, motherfuckers.
Bitch, you thought.
Seriously.
Listen, if you're going to hell, we're going to.
We all going. Okay.
How far are you?
You go first, though. You go first. Soften that blow.
Did I tell you about the argument I got in with this Tesla driver?
No.
I lost my shit, Keisha. To turn into a retail shopping center, but it's right off of a highway, right? And this Tesla, I was clearly in the right? I had my blinker on, and I'm trying to get over, and he kept driving like he didn't see me, and I lost it. So I followed him because he went to he was going to like charge his car. So I followed him into his followed him, and I basically let out on him. I'm like, fuck you! Like I just start yelling, and it felt so fucking good, and that's what I'm gonna be doing right now. I'm just gonna be unleashing any perceived slight.
Baby,
I'm just gonna be crashing the fuck out, girl.
Yes, girl, demand it. You deserve it. Like nobody should be able to do that to you. Like it doesn't matter traffic. And then, girl, aren't the Teslas supposed to be smart? Shouldn't they be able to see you on the fucking side? Shouldn't they be like dee dee dee? I don't know what the sounds that the Tesla makes when you're in the blind spot or when I don't know. But girl, they're everywhere and they are very disrespectful, but yet predictable because you know you're gonna find them. At those having a nap in their car like all lined up like oh my gosh,
freaking vulnerable they are. Like you guys listen, y'all don't know, y'all do not,
they don't know, girl, they don't know, baby,
because people like me we are on the edge.
Yeah, girl. Speaking about on the edge. So, yeah, it's just like, you have to demand respect. And, I think in this world, we're literally driving vehicles that are 1 ton. Pickups are 1 ton. They can, kill people. Like, we have to be more mindful about our actions and whatnot. But, girl, like the other day, I was like, you know what? It's been raining a lot. I don't really go out to lunch a lot. I usually carry my lunch or I just kind of thug it out, So, it was raining. I was like, you know what? Might be a good idea. Let's just go get us a bowl. I was telling my coworker, let's just go get some Chick-fil-A. They got our tortilla soup. Then, I'm down for that. It's going to be warm and cozy.
Mm-hmm.
So I ordered a bowl of soup from Chick-fil-A, which was $9.99, girl. $9.99. And I ordered a side salad. So when the guy handed me my bag, I could tell there was no salad dressing in it. I don't know how I knew. I just knew. It just seemed a little light. And so I said, is there any salad dressing in the bag? He's like, oh, no. And he's like, what kind do you want? And I was like, I want the spicy dressing or whatever. I don't know what it's called. It's spicy. And he's like, okay. And he hands me the smallest pack of Mexican salsa. Why is it called Mexican salsa? I have no idea. I know who makes it. Apparently there's not American salsa, but anyway. So he hands me the smallest pack and then I was like, ugh. And so I was just kind of annoyed. I said, it's okay because I have salad dressing in my lunch bag at work, whatever. So anyway, I get to my desk. I pull out my little bag. I pull out my salad, get all the things out. Girl, when I tell you, this soup was so disgustingly bad. And I don't know what their standard is because I've never had tortilla soup from them, but I know what kind of fucking tortilla soup I make. And that wasn't it. Girl, that was a bunch of beans in a bowl with 2 shards of chicken. And so I immediately got mad and then I was like, you know what? This is bullshit, And I know I was really mad. I'm like, you know what? When I get home, I'm going to call them out on their bullshit. Because, otherwise, I always have a good experience with Chick-fil-A. But I just thought that was a little, and I think I should say something. And I was telling my daughter, I'm calling Chick-fil-A. She's like, Mommy, don't do it. You already ate the soup and blah, blah, blah. And I said, you know what? And I thought about that thing for a minute. I thought about it. And she was like, don't call them, blah, blah, blah. She had her reasons why she didn't want me to call them. And I think she was kind of halfway low-key embarrassed because I was really in a uproar. But I said, you know what? I sat there on my bed and I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I deserve more. For the price that I paid for that soup, I could have bought my whole family. I could have made my whole family a whole pot of fucking chicken tortilla soup that would have been 10 times better than that. So why don't we speak up for ourselves? Why don't we deserve the best? Like, and I said that day, that was the last day that I'm going to take shit from anybody. I don't care if you're the guy at the gas station. If you're fucking rude to me, I'm calling you out on your shit. I'm calling the bitch out behind the counter, and I'm not giving them a wink and a nod at Chipotle. Y'all know what the fuck the deal is. You know what the people been talking about. Put some more chicken on that shit.
I agree. You know what drives me crazy about that? And this is how I know we are in late state capitalism, because of a lot of reasons that I'm going to get into them right now. The first one is the fact that we are not only consumers, we're also employees of these businesses. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, the very reason that they are making record profits is because of us. They're not buying from each other.
They're not. Do the Chipotle man even eat Chipotle?
I doubt it. I'm certain he doesn't. We should actually add him and ask. But anyway, I feel like there's this social contract that's broken these days. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's less quantity, less quality, and they're charging us more for it, and we're supposed to just be okay with it. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us aren't, but then there's this other faction of the people who literally, no matter what you say against corporations or businessmen, are just quick to defend them. And I'm like, when did that start happening? Do you know what I mean? Like, when did we start defending billionaires? Because it's like, no way that companies, there's no way that you, okay, my brain is like firing crazy right now. Because to me, logically, and this could be the touch of the tism in me, but I can't understand how in a thriving economy, a company can be both making record profits and also having mass layoff.
Yeah. Let's unpack that a bit.
You have to follow the money, and then it's very easy because it's just hanging out in the 1%, and there are so many people that will defend it, and that is why they've been allowed to kind of perpetrate this bullshit on us for as long as they have. Because over the last, 10 years, things have just gotten exorbitant. And you know what else also correlates with that? Daddy Trump.
Daddy Trump, girl. Daddy Warbucks.
And now we're, the problem is, and this is what people don't seem to understand, is it's very rare for once things go up for them to come back down.
Yeah. Hello.
And so that's why, back to kind of the point of this whole thing, I do believe that protests and boycotts are important. Yes. I feel like all should be saving our money at this time. Like, they're not going to listen to us bitching on X or TikTok or Blue Sky or Instagram or Facebook. They don't care. We are using their technology. They're getting paid.
Yes, but we need to talk with our money talks, goddammit. Money talks.
Money talks. That's the easiest way to do it, is just say, you know what, I'm going to save my coins.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the quickest way. And then that way I think they'll just kind of start looking at things a little differently, and then the fucking economy doesn't have to go into a recession because they're still trying to squeeze money out of people that don't got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just gross. It's like, we've broken the social construct. Like, just give me what I'm paying for. Like, I should feel like I'm getting value for my money, and you shouldn't be trying to gaslight me into fucking eating cereal for dinner. Like, all of this is bad.
Girl, they tried it. Didn't they try it? They was like, you don't need food. You can get this good old box of processed corn, goddammit. And you know, corn is like almost the worst thing, although it tastes so good. It's not the best. It's not the best of the grains.
the way everybody loves corn. So I've always been okay with that. But it isn't. I mean, they should have at least been talking about having oats because that would keep us full.
Girl, no, they don't. Girl, they don't want to give you oats because then you're gonna be full lung and satiated and satisfied. Then you won't be looking around the corner at the, you're looking in the vending machine for that little Snickers and to get you the.
Yep.
Through the day, no, girl, can't have a bowl of oats. Girl, when I do have a bowl of oats, be on high alert, girl. That's what the game's been missing. Eating a good old bowl of cereal is not going to get us to the promised land, which we are. But girl, we are constantly thinking about the people at the, like Dottie Warbucks and his comrades. They all want to make all the money. All the money they want to go to the 1%. They don't care about poor people. They never have.
The thing about it is they don't care about non-wealthy people. It's not even that they don't like the poor. They don't like the middle class.
They don't like anybody.
The thing that they convince them of the most is that they do. And I'm like, I don't know why you think that. They've never actually said it.
No. You
know?
Stephanie, so let me ask you a question. So you're saying that the billionaires only like the billionaires. Besides them having $1 billion, what else is there to admire about such people?
I mean, I ask myself that all the time. And I swear I do because, okay, listen, hot takes. I live in Silicon Valley and oh my God, this better not. Oof, I'm just going to say it. But I have also worked in a billionaire's office, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that it takes a lot of people to make them successful. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so what you see as the end product is like literally probably hundreds of people behind them making them that way. So for me, I don't admire them necessarily. I think that in order to have achieved $1 billion, there's some shady shit had to have gone on.
Girl, like $1 billion, a billion chickens with their heads cut off, running around like, yeah, gotta get this done. Yeah, that's it.
I don't go into too much detail here because billionaires are also shady as fuck, right? So
right. Yes, they're like the super villains of it all.
They really are, and that's what's crazy to me. It's like, guys, when did we start worshiping them? I don't understand. I'm so confused.
Girl, Superman can fucking burn through some holes and some shit. Motherfucker came from the planet Krypton down to Earth, hit the ground, lived on a fucking farm. But we like Lex Luthor. He's the one. He's the one. No powers at all. No powers.
You know, I feel like a lot of it has to do somewhere down the line, and I feel like it had to have been after, you know what? I think it really was after my generation, because I'm like a 90s kid, so I took that generation where we were both like analog and digital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And because when in the analog world, you had to do a lot more thinking.
You did.
You know what I'm saying?
You did.
You had to think a lot of shit. Like, I wondered. I was like, I use my map because I really am directionally challenged. I kind of always have been. And I'm like, I don't know how the hell I managed to get around before I had a digital map in my hand, but I did it. Which is me and my handy map. I just had to do so much more thinking. And I think generations after me didn't. And that critical thinking element is what is crucial and missing, and what allows people to kind of just be fed a bunch of BS and not question it. You know what I mean? I saw some on freaking TikTok crashing out because a whole bunch of people were saying Star Wars wasn't political. Right?
Oh, poor babies. Poor babies.
And I was like, what do you do?
I mean, I guess that's why these history lessons are going to be important, right? Because they don't want to do, like, we had to go through encyclopedias, and like you said, you had to use a map and an atlas, probably some shit like that. These don't. They just type it in and get it. And if it's not on their radar any kind of way, why would they need to? Girl, I think we were literally searching for truth, to be honest. we had to try to figure it out. Like, what's really going on? Like, there's everything that's in a book. Like, we have to go research. Oh, we had to get, research, do our report. We didn't have to type in a couple of letters and know how to word it. We had to go dig deep, put that shit in our own words, and write it down or type it.
I mean, research was like just a general part of our lives, because I also remember reading encyclopedias when I get bored.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then find out some stuff about like Polynesia,
Yes, or, Egypt, or like New Guinea. We're like, what?
Yeah. You just pick like the freaking encyclopedia and you're taking to kind of a different place. And it's I think it is different because, like, even with ChatGPT, like, the thing about ChatGPT is it's a bunch of, like, aggregated information from people. You know what I mean? So, like, if you think like those people, you're writing prompts like those people, so you're only getting results.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Very
Yeah.
And I think that that's what kind of social media has been trending downwards. Like, ever since, like, 2017, isn't that when Facebook went public?
Not too long ago.
Years where things have just changed really significantly. And that's why we are all in basically echo chambers and silos, because our world is so digital,
Yeah. I do.
Like, if you didn't live in a world where you had to do research and where it was kind of like instilled in you, you're certainly not going to know how to find things now. I mean, just imagine how overwhelming it is to have everything at your fingertips. And one of the things that I think social media does is it omits curiosity.
It does.
Right? People aren't even curious about the world they live in anymore. They're just being spoon-fed stuff, and then it's like, oh, it's viral, so I must be interested.
Yes!
Like,
yes,
no, babe,
yes.
that's just what you're seeing today. Think. Like, one of the things that drives me crazy as someone who loves fashion and style and just individuality is how they're like, the viral jacket from Target. And it's like, so now hundreds of thousands of you are going to be wearing the same jacket. Like, you think that makes you cool? When did that start happening? Because that, when I was growing up, we were part of those friend groups where it was like, you can never tell where you're going based on how your friend groups are dressed, because they're all wearing some wacky shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you're like, how y'all even friends?
Yeah.
Y'all don't go together. It's like a hodgepodge, juxtapose, some kind of shit. But yeah, that's what influencers do. And I think that totally comes, this is the leverage that marketing, this is leverage that they have that they didn't have back in the past, where you go watch TV and you're going to, just get the basic commercials. But now everything is a fucking commercial, and they have ways that they have using influencers to influence you to buy this fucking coat because they need to sell out of these ugly mugs. Girl, the coat, to me, I was like, what is this? Girl, I don't want that. I don't want that nowhere near my wardrobe. Sorry. That's not my style. Then I think more so for the people that are on social media, they need influence, and they're spoon-fed, and they're easy targets.
I can't. Well, you know what I was thinking this morning, too? Because I was like, I actually used to be heavy into social media because, let's be honest, it used to be fun. It's not fun anymore. And I'm recognizing more and more that, like, privacy is becoming a luxury, too. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, privacy and individuality and kind of just, like, self-sustaining way of life, like, that's kind of something that's a luxury now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I do. It is a luxury.